From 1 to 10, how is your mental strength and resilience? Today, we're going to grow our mental strength, our mental wellness, our mental resilience. Let those roots grow deeper, like in Psalm 1, and be planted by the rivers of water so that whatever we do is going to prosper, starting with our thoughts and our mind strength. I am Nurse Ann. I am coming right now from the front lines of mental health and emergency as a certified emergency and mental health registered nurse. And we are in the transformation series. So today we're going to transform and strengthen our mental strength. So I'm working on a new devotional for your mental strength, and it's going to help us focus and grow our mental wellness and resilience. And we're going to jump into a sneak peek, and then we're going to have some bonus content from my published devotionals. And at the end, there's always a prize, which I'll tell you about soon. So let's start off with growing your mental wellness, your resiliency to deepen our roots. Do you want to deepen your roots of mental strength and resilience? Do you want that to deepen your roots? Along with building your faith on solid ground, let's get into this. Your mental wellness can blossom and thrive for your exponential growth. Do you want exponential growth? Make sure you follow, like, and share. This channel is here for your inspirational wellness, not just for your mind, but for your mind, body, and spirit, because they work together in synergy. And once again, we can, in our mind, body, and spirit, be like in Psalm 1:3, be planted like a tree by the rivers of water and bring forth our fruit in its season. Our leaf won't wither, but whatever we do, whatever you do, will prosper. So let's build that, deepen, grow, then get into some bonus content. So we're going to start off with a term. I did this also in one of my videos about amygdala, anxiety, or it's also called an amygdala hijack. Your amygdala is a part of the brain that plays a key role in anxiety and fear. How often do you have anxiety and fear? We all have that. Leave that in the comments. How the amygdala works. The amygdala processes sensory and social stimuli to evaluate their emotional significance. It's responsible for the body's fight, flight, or freeze response. How often do you find yourself going into the fight, flight, or freeze response based on worries, fears, anxiety, trauma responses? How often does that happen to you? That amygdala hijack or amygdala anxiety. So it's responsible for the body's fight, flight response, which includes increased heart rate and blood pressure, faster breathing, and feelings of fear and anxiety. How the amygdala relates to anxiety. People that have anxiety a lot often have an overactive amygdala, which can lead to exaggerated responses to fearful stimuli. Chronic stress can also increase the amygdala's excitability, which can lead to an overactive fear and anxiety response. I don't want you to have to always live in that fear and anxiety. Stress reduction techniques like meditation, prayer, introspection, deep breathing, and exercise can help reduce anxiety. And if you scroll on my website, nurseann.com, that's Ann with an E, there's a lot of tabs there for your mental wellness of mind, body, and spirit, to get over anxiety, to work on that mental strength and resiliency, and also your health, and a lot of other bonuses there for you. And one of the good verses that reminds us is in Philippians 4:6-7, that reminds us to be anxious for nothing, but in everything with prayer and supplication and thanksgiving, give our requests back to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, can guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. In Psalm 94:19, when anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought joy to my soul. Speaking of joy, if you look at the last video, scroll back, it's about joy versus happiness, because you know, joy and happiness do have different definitions. So Psalm 94:19, when anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought joy to my soul. Do you need some of that soul medicine? And we're going to get to some bonus content soon from my published devotionals, which also have soul medicine. And at the end, there's always that quick action-packed chapter, which is the prize for my published fictional drama, where you ride along with the frontline workers rescuing those in crisis of mental, physical, and spiritual. So thinking about meditating and journaling your thoughts, is this your first time learning about amygdala hijack and amygdala anxiety? Is this your first time? What causes you to go into fight, flight, and freeze mode? What tools have you already tried to overcome this? What are some scripture verses that are helpful for you? And number 2, we're going to talk about authority, taking control of our thoughts and taking authority. Of course, once again, meditating, being quiet and still, also focusing in prayer and scripture. And we can focus on a calming object, even our breath, to help focus our mind with one thought at a time. And in my video on amygdala anxiety, I remember that they said one of the tools to get over that stress, that amygdala hijack, that fight, flight, or freeze, one of them was actually, there was a couple of them, there was the 6-second rule, that if we can get past that 6 seconds, then we can start to calm down naturally. And one of them I liked was do a math problem in your brain. They had us counting backwards, or even thinking of a difficult, or just some addition of subtraction, doing that for a little bit to kind of rewire and refocus our thoughts and our brains to get past that. And of course, mindfulness, letting our thoughts drift through the mind, but don't give attention to unwanted or intrusive thoughts. Acknowledging your thoughts, realize that might not be your thoughts, but it's okay to acknowledge them. And of course, that deep breathing, you can close your eyes or even just relax your muscles. Maybe do that square or box breathing technique. Change your perspective. Try switching to the third person perspective when addressing yourself in the first person. Guided imagery, body scan meditation, self-talk, which of course would include positive affirmations of your self-talk, and avoid put-downs or other fearful thoughts. And identify your patterns. Develop that self-awareness to identify patterns that cause unwanted thoughts, that cause that fear and anxiety. Challenge your inner critic. Work on changing your perspective on situations to be more positive and even more faith-filled. Fill your mind up with good thoughts and scripture. You can journal, write down your thoughts to express your feelings. Talk to someone, a therapist, life coach, trusted friend, and or a loved one. And the verse for this, 2 Corinthians 10, reminds us that weapons of our warfare, because you know the battle is not just physical, it's mental and spiritual. Kind of seems mystical. That's a line from one of my poems. But the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. Do you want to pull down those mental strongholds and have more peace, wellness, and resilience? Casting down those imaginations, those thoughts that are a lie, and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bring those thoughts into the captivity. So meditate and journal about that verse right there. And then number 3 is authenticity versus cognitive dissonance. What is cognitive dissonance? Have you heard of that before? We're going to go over that. Everyone get a drink of water. It's healthy for your body and your brain cells and all of your cells. Do you want health in all of your cells and in your brain? So cognitive dissonance is a psychological state of discomfort that occurs when someone holds conflicting beliefs, values, or attitudes. It can also refer to the tension that arises when a person's actions don't align with their beliefs. To reduce cognitive dissonance, people might change their beliefs, justify or rationalize their actions, ignore conflicting information, avoid conversations and situations that challenge their beliefs. You can do that and be stuck in cognitive dissonance, or be your authentic self. Authenticity is beautiful. And I know we're surrounded by social media, what's going on in society, what's going on in our own social groups. And sometimes it's hard to bring out our authentic self. And yes, we do want to do that with wisdom and boundaries, but it is so much more important not to just try to fit into all the boxes, but be your true, genuine self. It's so beautiful, and it has much higher rewards and payoffs. Authenticity can be maintained in some ways, including being honest, open and honest with your thoughts and feelings, listening to your intuition, letting your values and true nature guide your decisions. Of course, we want to build up our values first to have good, altruistic, and virtuous values that help ourselves and spill onto others. Develop self-awareness, reflecting on why you react to situations in certain ways. Practicing self-reflection. Think about when you felt like your best self. Building self-esteem, practicing self-care activities to help feel secure in your identity and actions. What self-care activities do you participate in? Being consistent, maintaining consistency, being transparent, being open and honest with others. Isn't that refreshing when someone is open and honest with you, not duplicitous or lying or deceiving? And there's even a verse that says our own minds in Jeremiah, our minds and our hearts can be deceptive and also deceive us. We can trick ourselves. Let's not trick ourselves. Let's find out the truth, and let's not deceive and trick others. Let's not live our lives like that. Creating authentic content, storytelling, building trust. Once again, being reliable. Don't you love reliable, trustworthy, honest people? Let's be like that also. Being reliable, following through on promises, and being accountable for your actions. Communicating, sharing your ideas, visions, and values in your conversations. And James 1:8 reminds us a double-minded person is unstable in all of our ways. Do you want to be unstable in your mind and have cognitive dissonance, or do you want that stability, that mental resilience and stability? Galatians 1:10 reminds us that we're not always just trying to please others, but if we focus on pleasing God, then that we'll be on the right path. And Matthew 5:16 about being authentic, you can let your light shine, that inner light of beautiful authenticity and honesty, so that others can see your good works and glorify God. And what would you like to be more authentic about? What holds you back? And what step can you take today to be more authentic? And that is the farthest we're going to go on what I'm working on in my new devotional, but we're going to get on to some bonus content from some of my already published devotionals to help us with this mental strength, mental resilience, mental wellness, because we all need more of that. And the first one we're going to do is from my Word Puzzles devotional. It's interesting words linked to our everyday life and inner thought battles, along with relevant biblical prescriptions. I want you to get your dose, and I want you to overcome and thrive and have hope and new light for your life journey. What else is in here? Medicine for your soul in Word Puzzles devotional by Nurse Ann. So the one I chose today, and this is an A to Z devotional, I chose from N is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity. Just like amygdala, hijack amygdala anxiety. Have you also heard about neuroplasticity? What is it? It's the ability of the brain to form and reorganize synaptic connections, especially in response to learning or experience or following injury. This word, neuroplasticity, conveys hope. Do you need hope? We might be placed in a box of limitations by a disease, a diagnosis, and or labels. Others and or self-imposed. One may lead to the other. Rejection, ridicule, being shunned by our differences, frustration over current limitations. What are you frustrated? What do you feel is limiting you? Thinking we won't be able to push past a so-called defect. but our brain regenerates and makes those new pathways, new circuits. Higher learning and growth are possible, so keep striving and trying. Don't give up. And from the great neuroscientist, the Lord encourages us in Jeremiah 33:3, we're advised to call to him, to ask. His promise is to show us and teach us great and mighty things. Things we didn't previously know, things that were hidden, to help us solve our life puzzles. Promote new learning and advancement. So as I said, keep learning and growing, try new endeavors, break out of those boxes. And that's from my Word Puzzles devotional. Link at the website, nurseann.com. And there's also Energize Health, Body, Mind, and Spirit to propel your total health. Let's get started. I chose today just a couple lines from the section on the mind. In a great verse is Isaiah 26:3. He's going to keep us in perfect peace when we keep our mind stayed on him because we trust in him. And our minds and thoughts can try to take control. But when we focus our thoughts on goodness, we can be led on positive and productive paths. And I know this thinking is not always an easy endeavor. And Philippians 4 reminds us to think about whatever things are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, things of good report, things of any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. And that's from my Energize Health, Body, Mind, and Spirit link on the website at nurseann.com. Please follow this channel. It's going to help your inspirational wellness. Share it because so many people need this. Share it with someone who needs mental resilience, mental wellness, inspirational wellness. And leave your comments today. And then the next is my Inspiration Battles devotional. This is biblical medicine for real life, along with that soul searching to help you do that introspection with a dose of encouragement. And that's, once again, Inspiration Battles devotional, link on the website. And I also have Ignite Life Poetry devotional. I talk about a lot of serious things that we go through, mind battles, serious things in the world. There's abuse, trauma, people fleeing from their homeland, domestic violence. There is trafficking. There's also people feeling different and awkward based on limitations or differences. There's also some things just about family, fun times, travel. There's so many life stories in here, along with a poem. So as you go, dare to inspire and bless everyone in your path. Ignite Life Poetry Devotional by Nurse Ann. And then there's Mental Healing Poetry Devotional. We all need that mental healing and wellness. Mental healing Poetry devotional, we discuss life challenges along with God-ordained courage and healing to help us turn away from those mindsets controlled by fear. I know you don't want to be controlled by fear. And so there's inspiration to step into your true destiny of a faith walk and a purpose-driven path. In a line from one of my poems when I first started doing spoken word, this poem is called Mental Battles. I'm just going to read a couple lines, not the whole thing, but the war is not just physical, but spiritual, mental, kind of seems mystical. But he did provide an armor from heaven for us, artillery that no eye can even see. So I'm going to let you check this out at the Mental Healing Poetry Devotional by Nurse Ann. And the newest, before I release the next one, is your Everyday Legacy Poetry Devotional to splash impactful transformation as you go. Because you know what? Your life legacy isn't just for the future. It's everyday encounters. And I want you to discover people's stories and discover your own stories. And there is one in here about authenticity. I'm not going to read the poem right now, but the devotional part reminds us that genuine authenticity grounded in solid values energizes you and those you encounter. Do you want to be energized? Guided by emotional intelligence to know the appropriate situations and timelines to unleash full disclosure will set the pace. Once again, that's about having emotional intelligence and using your wisdom and boundaries. But overcoming fear and worry about what others think is a major milestone for this trajectory towards authenticity and living your authentic life. Depending on the environment and social situations, this can sometimes be difficult. Still, I assure you, it's definitely worth the payouts of an unhindered life story that you present to the world. And this is Everyday Legacy Poetry Devotional by Nurse Ann. Check it out on the website. And now we're going to jump to the bonus and the prize. Everyone get another drink of water. I will wait for you. I want you to stay healthy. Not only does this help your body, but it also helps your brain cells, as we said earlier. So, we are in the 6-part drama series that I created in my free time as a busy nurse on the front lines. I'm a certified emergency and mental health registered nurse on the front lines and still going. And this series highlights the struggles that people go through in emergency and mental health. And it shows the frontline workers helping to rescue them, along with you, the community, the church, and the families, and what they go through. Also the relationship drama and the mental thought drama of the workers and those involved. So it's a 6-part series. We already finished Sheep Among Wolves, which talked about a young lady on the street, homeless, fighting off hallucinations and ravenous predatory wolves, and find out if the frontline workers can help her find a safer life. And the next one is Dr. John Doe. We talk about Alzheimer's, memory disorders, and you get to ride along once again with the frontline workers. And there's also danger, action, suspense, romance, faith, and inspiration. And then the mental files, the tent under the bridge is the next one. We already finished that. We're going to get into more homelessness, more danger, action, thought disorders, thought battles, and the relationships of the workers, a tent under the bridge. We're now in Defenders of the Week. We're going to get into that right now. We talk about anxiety, bullying, more danger, action, romance, and suspense. And then after that, we're going to have Ready, Willing, and Able. We're going to get into autism, the spectrum, disabilities, how people can shine their light no matter what situation you're in. And you're going to love that. And then the culmination, which is the season finale. And I call it a season finale because with your help, it will be a television drama series and or web series. But it's called The Mental Files Out of Control. We talk about addiction and relapse. What do you find yourself relapsing in? Addiction is not just always substances. It can be thought strongholds and patterns in our lives. But out of control, we're going to also talk about entitled people. And then there's a culmination of a big relationship. And you're going to love it. To make it easier for you to follow along on this book club, it's in all those stories are in one book. Just get the one book. It's so much easier and it's almost free. It's the Mental Files First 6 Stories edition, where you get to ride along with the frontline workers, rescuing those in crisis of mental, physical, and spiritual. The shifts are 24/7. You have to buckle up for this compelling ride, filled once again with danger, action, suspense, romance, faith, and inspiration. So we're going to get on to the chapter and then I'll let you go. The Mental Files First 6 Stories edition. Link on the website. One more thing, then we're going to jump on. But to make it easier, we don't always have time to read. It was made into an audiobook by Nurse Ann, narrated by Drama Simpson. He brought it to life with siren noises, action noises, different character voices. You will feel like you're right there, riding along in the action. This is what it looks like on Audible and iTunes. Check that out. You want to listen to that. It really is very exciting, full of emergency and mental health, drama and action and adventure, along with the frontline workers, community, church, families, and so on. You're going to love that. Audible and iTunes, you will love listening to that. And please leave a review after you do. So today's chapter is chapter 19, is Man in the Mirror. Are you ready? And you can follow along all the podcasts. They go in order, starting from the beginning. If you want to pick and choose on different topics, if you want to listen to this, it's on my website, nurseann.com. There's a link to the Patreon, the YouTube, the podcast channel. And of course at YouTube, it's Nurse Ann's Inspirational Wellness, and that's Ann with an E. Chapter 19, Man in the Mirror. Tracy sat with her parents in the treatment team room as the doctors discussed the possibility that Tracy would probably return home on Sunday. She had never been a danger to herself or anyone else, and after participating in the unit groups and workbooks, she seemed to be doing a lot better, they said. Thanks, replied Tracy. The groups and workbooks were great. But I have to say that talking to Chandra and my friend Marcella from the boarding home helped me the most. They gave me a lot of encouragement for persevering through the difficulties in life. And I have a lot to be thanking them for. Mr. Davis's ears perked up when he heard his daughter talk about the boarding home girl. Although he wasn't entirely where he should be, he had thought a lot about what his wife said and prayed about it the night before. He felt God calling him back into the old ministry ways and stopped trying to think that he had to make everything run so perfectly. It was time to let go and let God. He asked his daughter more about Marcella. Well, this is a change, thought Tracy. Her father was actually asking her about someone that he would have looked down on? Sensing a newness about her father, she decided to fill him in on the details of her conversation with the girls. Robert was relieved that his daughter, for once, was sharing her heart and that they were finally getting along. After the meeting, Tracy walked her parents to the day room to visit a few more minutes. As her parents looked around at all of the other patients, Robert noticed his daughter hugging her roommate while Chandra was preparing to leave. He was also surprised when he saw Chandra and Tracy reach up and give Nurse Angela a hug. Maybe I've been wrong about these people, he thought, reflecting on his time in prayer and the changes he saw taking place in his family. He decided to have a talk with Brian when they got back to church about giving Jonathan an apology. And the next is chapter 20, Answered Prayers. And we're almost at the end of this book, and then we'll jump on to the next book. But I do want you to persevere in your growing your mental strength and resilience, your perseverance, developing those roots so that whatever you do will prosper. As we go, check out these flowers for you. See you at the next podcast.